The movie begins with a family enjoying what seems like a peaceful getaway at the beach. There are 4 of them, a husband, a wife, their teenage daughter, and their young son, Ollie. That evening, the family cooks dinner together, talks, laughs, and eventually settles into their tent for the night. The next morning, Ollie's parents prepare to leave with him. They ask their daughter to come along, but she refuses. She wants to stay behind. Before her parents leave, she stops them for one last picture. It seems like a completely normal family moment, but none of them realize this will be the last peaceful moment they share. As Ollie's parents drive away with him, their daughter is left completely alone. A few minutes later, she suddenly feels like someone is watching her. She looks around. Nothing. But the feeling doesn't go away. Frightened, she quickly gets inside her car and locks herself in. Then, after a while, another car pulls up behind her. 2 men step out. One is named German. The other is Chuck. They notice the girl sleeping inside the car. German looks at her and suggests taking her with them, but Chuck immediately reminds him that he's made the same mistake before and it landed him in prison. German insists that he's learned his lesson. This time, he says, he'll handle it himself. Chuck reluctantly agrees. The 2 men then head toward the family's tent to find out if anyone else is nearby. Meanwhile, the girl wakes up inside her car, and the first thing she sees is Chuck standing right outside. She angrily tells him to stay away from her car. Chuck backs off, but only for a moment. He suddenly starts coming toward her again. Panicking, the girl slams her hand onto the horn. The sound echoes across the beach. German immediately realizes she's awake, and worse, her parents may have heard it too. German rushes toward the car. Ollie's father comes running to check on his daughter, but before he can do anything, German pulls out a gun. He orders the girl out of the car. Terrified, she slowly steps outside. Her father tries to protect her, but the attackers overpower him and knock him unconscious. Now, Ollie's mother realizes something is wrong. She leaves the tent and rushes toward them. The moment she sees her husband on the ground, she attacks the men. In the chaos, their daughter sees an opening and runs. For a moment, it looks like she's going to escape. Then, a gunshot rings out. She freezes. German points the gun at her mother and gives her a terrifying choice. Take another step, and your mother dies. The girl has no choice. She slowly turns around and gives herself up. Moments later, all 3 family members are tied up, their hands restrained, their mouths covered, and their freedom completely gone. What started as a peaceful family vacation has suddenly turned into a nightmare. The nightmare was far from over. German and Chuck dragged the family deep into the forest. At one point, Chuck sat down and started going through Ollie's sister's phone. Then he found something that changed everything. A family picture. Chuck looked closely, and there was Ollie, a little boy who was nowhere to be seen. Chuck immediately showed the picture to German. Now they knew the family was hiding someone. German turned to Ollie's mother and demanded to know where the boy was, but she refused to say a word. That silence made the 2 men even more furious. They separated the family and tied each of them to different trees. Then German placed a beer can on Ollie's father's head. Chuck raised his gun and aimed directly at the can. Ollie's father was shaking uncontrollably. His fear made the can fall to the ground. German calmly picked it up and placed it back on his head. Again, Chuck aimed. Again, the terrified father started trembling. The can fell. This time, Chuck lost his patience. He shot Ollie's father. The same horrifying game was then played with Ollie's mother. They placed another beer can on her head, but this time, German took the shot. Ollie's mother was killed. The 2 men then turned their attention to the daughter. Before leaving, they shot her as well. Now the entire family appeared to be dead, but German and Chuck still hadn't found the one person they wanted, Ollie. They rushed back to the family's tent, but when they got there, Ollie was gone. The little boy had disappeared into the wilderness, crying and terrified, and now nobody knew where he was. 3 days later, a completely different couple arrived at the same beach. They had no idea what had happened there. To them, the beach looked peaceful and beautiful. They were newly married and had come there to spend some private time together. They happily set up their tent near the beach. The woman's name was Sam. While her husband was busy with their campsite, Sam sat alone for a while, completely unaware that something terrible had happened here just days earlier, and somewhere nearby, a frightened little boy was still hiding. The next morning, Sam woke up and glanced toward the abandoned family tent again. She assumed the family had finally returned, but something about the campsite didn't feel right. Curious, Sam walked over to check. The moment she looked inside the tent, she froze. Everything was still there. The family's belongings were scattered around, but there was no sign that anyone had come back. Sam immediately called her husband over. Something's wrong. They wouldn't have left everything like this. The couple decided they needed to contact the police, but before they could leave, they discovered that one of their car tires had gone flat. While Sam's husband started changing the tire, Sam suddenly heard a strange sound nearby. Then came a faint cry. She immediately ran toward it. Her husband followed close behind, and there, lying on the ground, they found a little boy. It was Ollie. He was weak, badly shaken, and barely conscious. Sam's husband quickly checked him and realized the boy was still alive. They carefully picked him up and carried him toward their car. Now they had another problem. They couldn't simply leave the boy behind. They needed to find his parents. Just as they were preparing to leave, Chook suddenly appeared. Sam and her husband showed him Ollie and explained that they needed to get the boy to a hospital as quickly as possible. But instead of panicking, Chook tried to calm them down. "Don't worry, his parents can't be far away. They're probably somewhere nearby. We'll find them." Sam's husband wasn't convinced. "If his parents are in trouble, we need to help them." Chook agreed. He grabbed a gun from his vehicle and headed into the forest with Sam's husband to search for the missing family. Meanwhile, Sam stayed behind with Ollie. She climbed into the car and found a knife inside. Then she looked over at Ollie. For the first time, the little boy was finally sleeping peacefully. But Sam had no idea that the real danger was much closer than she thought. Deep in the forest, Chook led her husband to the place where the family had been tortured. The moment Chook saw the campsite, his expression changed. Something was missing. The bodies were there, but Ollie's mother was gone. Chook immediately realized what that meant. She wasn't dead. She was still alive. Sam's husband looked at him in shock. "We need to leave, now. We have to call the police." But Chook refused. If she survived, she could still be out there. And now, instead of simply searching for a missing family, they were hunting for a woman who had somehow survived the attack. Chook and Sam's husband immediately started searching for Ollie's mother. After a few minutes, they finally found her. She was barely alive, struggling to breathe. Sam's husband rushed toward her, hoping they could still save her. But before he could do anything, Chook raised his gun and shot her. She was dead. Sam's husband froze in horror. Chook looked at him and casually asked, "What's wrong? Why are you scared? I thought you were brave." Shaking with fear, Sam's husband asked, "Are you going to kill me too?" Chook smiled. "No, not that easily." Then his expression turned cold. "I'm going to make it hurt. I want you to suffer before you die." Those words terrified him even more. Chook stepped closer and ordered him to stand up. "Come on. Get up, we're leaving." But the moment Chook turned away, Sam's husband saw his chance. He suddenly shoved Chook and ran into the forest. Chook immediately chased after him. Meanwhile, German had returned to the campsite. Sam quickly told him everything that had happened, but instead of helping her, German reached into his car and pulled out a gun. The moment Sam saw it, she panicked. She immediately grabbed Ollie and locked herself inside her car. German walked up to the vehicle. "Come out." Sam refused. German suddenly smashed the car window and reached inside, trying to unlock the door. But Sam was ready. She grabbed the knife she had found earlier and slashed his hand. German stumbled back, clutching his injured hand as blood started pouring from the wound. Sam didn't waste a second. She grabbed Ollie and ran. German quickly recovered enough to notice them escaping. He released his dog and sent it after them. Sam sprinted through the forest with Ollie, desperately trying to get away. At the same time, Sam's husband was hiding nearby. He knew Chook was still searching for him, and Chook was getting closer. Suddenly, Chook spotted someone running through the trees. Without thinking, he raised his gun and fired. He immediately rushed toward the spot where the figure had disappeared, but when he reached the area, he froze. The person he had just shot wasn't Sam's husband. It was German. Chook had just shot his own partner. German screamed in pain as the bullet hit him. Chook looked at him and apologized for shooting him, but before German could say anything, Chook heard a child crying nearby. He turned and saw Sam. Chook slowly walked toward her and grabbed her. With his gun pointed at Sam, he forced her toward German. Then he took Ollie away from her and placed the boy on the ground. German was still alive, badly wounded and struggling with the pain. Chook looked at him, then raised his gun and finished him off. After that, Chook forced Sam into the car and prepared to leave. But Sam wasn't giving up. She suddenly grabbed the steering wheel and violently pulled it to the side. The car lost control and slammed into a tree. Meanwhile, Sam's husband had managed to reach the area with the police. The officers immediately moved toward Chuk's vehicle, but Chuk spotted them from a distance and opened fire. Sam's husband quickly started the police car, trying to get away, but Chuk fired again, hitting him in the arm. He then forced both Sam and her injured husband into the police car. Sam was behind the wheel, while Chuk sat in the back, holding them at gunpoint. Chuk ordered her to drive, but Sam had one last plan. She suddenly accelerated and deliberately swerved the car. The vehicle lost control, flipped, and slammed back onto the road. All three of them were badly injured. Chuk was the first to crawl out of the wreckage. He was barely able to stand. Sam climbed out next. She saw Chuk struggling nearby and grabbed a large rock. Without giving him another chance, she struck him with it. Chuk finally stopped moving. The nightmare was over. Sometime later, Sam opened her eyes in a hospital. She slowly got out of bed and went looking for her husband. Thankfully, he had survived too. He was badly injured, but alive. Then Sam remembered Ollie. She desperately wanted to know what had happened to the little boy. And then came the biggest surprise. Ollie had survived. German's dog had stayed with him and ultimately helped save his life. After everything they had been through, Sam made a life-changing decision. She decided to adopt Ollie and give him the family he had lost. And with that, the terrifying story finally comes to an end. If you enjoyed this movie recap, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.